Whenever we talk about the absolute GOATs of the boxing world, the names of Muhammad Ali and Mike Tyson are always at the top of everyone's list. Those legends were powerhouses of their time, and in their prime, they were unbeatable. And with how much they contributed to the sport, they'll always be remembered as long as boxing exists. Today we're going to talk about who was the better fighter, so let's dive right in. First up, Joe Rogan discussed Muhammad Ali versus Mike Tyson. The debate of who would win if the former two champions were to fight is as old as time itself. No one can deny that Mike Tyson earned a place for himself in the boxing Valhalla. In his prime, he was an unstoppable force of pure grit and raw qualities, which got him the title of the baddest man on the planet. In one of the most recent episodes of his podcast, The Joe Rogan Experience, the host made it a point to discuss how Tyson would have fared against the greatest Muhammad Ali. He also talked about how Iron Mike would do against some of the other immortals of the heavyweight division. Rogan had the stand-up comedian Brian Simpson as a guest during this episode. The duo dove into what Tyson brought to the table and how his skill set made him a force to be reckoned with in the heavyweight division. The two legends of the boxing world never faced each other in the ring. In fact, their careers never overlapped. Ali remained active from 1960 to 1981, while on the other hand, Tyson only began his career in 1985 and decided to hang up his gloves in 2005. Both of them had long, successful careers that expanded to a couple of decades, and they left huge legacies behind on their retirement. Next up, who would win between the two according to Rogan? While in conversation, Rogan and Simpson pondered on how Tyson would fare against some of the other greats of the division. This was when the guest of the podcast revealed that when he was growing up, he thought Mike Tyson was invincible. That was the first name that came to his mind, and he truly believed that no one in the world could ever beat him. The UFC commentator also nodded in agreement and said that most people at the time probably believed the same. Simpson then mentioned that in contrast to this, the older generation hated Tyson for some reason. He followed it up by emphasizing that it was most likely because the Iron Mike represented a whole new wave of boxers. Rogan picked up on this and stated that the older generation regularly compared Tyson to older boxers. But in his opinion, Mike Tyson beats them all. In his prime, Tyson defeated the likes of Marvis Frazier and knocked out Michael Spinks. The podcast host then talked about a potential showdown between Ali and Tyson. He said that Iron Mike might not beat Ali, but he would probably defeat everyone else. He thought that he was a force of nature, and no one could go toe-to-toe against him at his peak. But for some reason, Rogan thought that Ali might be able to handle Tyson's power. Joe also praised Tyson for the amount of time and effort he spent studying boxing. But in the end, we all know why Ali is called the greatest. Now let's look at what the two former champs think of each other. Tyson has always looked up to Ali as a role model. He has admitted on several occasions that he got into boxing because of the former champion. Ali also reciprocates the sentiment, and in the past has admired Tyson's power and technique. He even went on to debate whether he would have been able to withstand Tyson in the ring. Way back in 1989 on the Arsenio Hall show, both of the champions, along with Sugar Ray Leonard, shared the camera with a late-night host. They provided their own insights as to who would win if both of them fought in their primes. Ali began by saying that he was the dancing master, but he wasn't all that powerful. He pretended to go to sleep if Tyson hit him, but then he said that if he caught him, that is because he was so fast. Tyson stayed humble in front of his hero and gave all his praise to the greatest. He called Ali the GOAT and said that even though he himself is great, there's a time when every head must bow, every tongue must confess. Muhammad Ali responded by calling Tyson modest, humble, and nice, but once again praised his power. To this, Iron Mike pointed out that Ali had dealt with punchers more powerful than him during his peak, and that he had seen in the ring with killers. He admitted that George Foreman and Ernie Shavers used to hit much harder than he did, and Ali bested them. That made him such an amazing champion. Following up, Tyson continued admiring and praising his idol. Inside the boxing ring, both men were undisputed world champions. Ali became champion twice, but just as importantly, they both had an immense impact on boxing and brought it to the limelight we see today. Ali's charisma and trash talk changed the face of fight promotions, and this wasn't just for boxing, but all of combat sports. Tyson's wrecking ball style quickly became a sensation at the box office, and by 1990, he became one of the most famous men in the world. The Iron Mike grew up watching Ali dominate his opponent in the ring. He admitted that watching his idol gave him a great deal of confidence and inner belief that no one could beat him. Tyson went on to say that every prediction Ali made came true. His persona was so immense that he made his opponents believe that he was invincible. Ali stayed humble even after this, and added the last word saying that it was nice of Tyson to pay him some big compliments, but he is too great. At the time of the interview in 1989, Iron Mike was the undisputed champion of the world, and the youngest heavyweight champion in history. The two legends had so much love and admiration for each other that they stayed close for years after this interview. Even after Ali passed away in 2016 after battling Parkinson's, Tyson still talks about the greatest and often gets emotional about him. Ali's legacy was passed on to Tyson and he built upon it. And despite the contrast in their styles, there's no denying that these two were the greatest to ever grace the sport. Moving on, Joe Rogan discussed the bite fight. On his podcast, The Joe Rogan Experience, the host was astounded by the unheard truths about the famous Tyson vs. Holyfield fight. His guest Brian Simpson revealed the experience when Iron Mike overturned the best boxer, Evander Holyfield, in their rematch in 1997. Joe expressed that he was excited and was waiting patiently for this particular match. The runback of the fight had one of the most interesting events, which troubled Tyson later, and for that, it was named Fight of the Year by the Ring magazine. The bizarre incident that took place was etched into the minds of everyone who saw the fight. It also earned Tyson his notorious reputation and hatred at the time. Since retiring, though, Iron Mike has mellowed out a lot and doesn't seem to be as aggressive as he once was. Now let's look at the events leading up to Tyson vs. Holyfield 2. In his prime, Evander Holyfield looked unstoppable. It was really important for Tyson to defeat him to cement his legacy as the greatest heavyweight boxer. But for one reason or another, the fight was not happening. The bout was first teased in 1990, but the opportunity slipped following Tyson's loss to Buster Douglas. Sometime later, when the duo agreed to face off in the ring, the fight was halted once again, indefinitely this time. This was because Iron Mike was convicted in a rape case. The two giants of the heavyweight division finally met in the ring on November 9, 1996. This was their first meeting, and Holyfield was able to clinch a victory in the 11th round via TKO. But this wasn't over. The duo agreed to a rematch on May 3, 1997, but the fight was postponed due to an eye injury Tyson suffered back then. They met for the second time on June 28, 1997. Rogan and Simpson both recalled having watched the fight live and relived some of the memories. The podcast host recounted that he watched it with Kevin James, and at the time, they couldn't believe their eyes. He also revealed that he rented a house and watched it live on pay-per-view. He called it a crazy function and was particularly amazed by what happened in the second fight. Simpson also agreed and added that it blew his mind how much people hated Tyson just because he wanted to fight someone. Finally, what actually happened during the fight? At the time, Iron Mike was thought of as a monster because of his aggression inside and outside of the ring. The second meeting he had with Holyfield made news for all the wrong reasons. And because of the notoriously interesting incident that took place, the fight was forever labeled as the Bite Fight. This rematch was one of the oddest fights in the history of boxing. Tyson relied on his bite force besides his fists in the bout. Iron Mike walked into the ring as everyone's favorite. He had previously complained about Holyfield hitting him with multiple headbutts in their first outing, but nothing was done about it. Apparently, Holyfield tried pulling something similar in the rematch too. He tried headbutting Tyson this time around, which made the former champion furious. Iron Mike saw red, and in response, he bit off his opponent's ear. Obviously, this resulted in a disqualification for Tyson, and Holyfield won the rematch. In addition to this, the authorities also saw fit to slam a hefty fine of $3 million on Iron Mike. To this day, Tyson vs. Holyfield 2 remains one of the most talked about fights in the history of boxing. Although many nasty events have taken place in the ring, this particular one will stay in the memory of the fans forever. That's a wrap for this video. Who do you think would have won between Ali and Tyson in their prime? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.